Welcome to The Amy Gregory Show, the show where real estate gets a reality check and success doesn't require burnout. I'm Amy, your straight shooting, pep talk in your pocket host who took the real estate world by storm with zero cold calls, no door knocking, and a firm no thanks to working 50-hour weeks. 8 years ago, I jumped into real estate with both feet, 3 kids, and a baby on the way. In my rookie year, I broke every rule in the book, earning 6 figures working just 10 hours a week. The industry was shocked. I wasn't. Now, I lead a powerhouse team of over 500 female solo agents nationwide, host retreats, create online courses, and sit proudly in the top 10 of my brokerage with over 85,000 agents. My mission? To help women like you scale your business, trust your intuition, and redefine what success looks like on your terms. So if you're ready to play big, ditch the hustle culture, and build a business that fits your life, not the other way around, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Amy Gregory Show. I am so excited today. We have Natalie Davidson all the way from like literally the other side of what feels like the universe, the continent. It'd be the continent, not the universe.
The other side of the continent, yes.
You guys are going to love Natalie. Again, she is another one of my powerhouse agents with me over at EXP. And we actually have a funny way that we met. Natalie's kind of big time. And Natalie was another person that was like, why are you calling me? Because I felt like you were way more big time than I was.
Nobody's more big time. No, you're
true.
The big time.
No, that's not true.
Time.
Okay, so how did we meet? Tell everyone where you're from first.
Yeah, I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, which is basically on the other side of Maine.
Like north.
North, yeah. That's how I try to, when I talk to my American friends, I say we're on the other side of Maine. And if that doesn't do it, then I'll say we're across the bridge from Prince Edward Island and of Green Gables. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. Which is like opposite worlds from Arizona in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen a cactus yet? I know you were excited about seeing a cactus.
I am very excited to see a cactus. However, I was a little bit heads down on my phone when I got off the plane after traveling all day. So I didn't even look up. I didn't even look up. And I looked up at one point. I was like, wow, way to miss the moment, Natalie.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
that's happened a time or two. Okay, so how did you find me? Because you kind of came out of nowhere and I was like, oh my gosh, this Natalie chick is so cool. And now we get to work together.
So, I think every story is actually a long story when you really trace it back enough, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the most important things to like focus on in our journey together.
I feel like I'm on an episode of Bachelor.
Right? I'm gonna I'll zoom out and then zoom in. I swear it won't take forever. But I was a realtor for a long time and then I wasn't a realtor for a while. And I got my license back in 2021. Mm-hmm. And when I got my license back, I went to a traditional brokerage where my husband was the manager. Everything was very old school. Everybody knows. Yes, everybody knows the brand. And I already knew, like I had spent the years prior to that running my marketing business. And so I already knew that I wanted to do this different. I understood marketing on another level. And I was like, where are the other realtors like me?
Yeah.
And at that time in 2021, I was just searching podcasts. I'm like, I got to find someone on a podcast. And I found GoGo doing a podcast interview. Mm-hmm. So I'm like traipsing through the forest in January in the snow, listening to GoGo talking about like sales funnels. And I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Like she's speaking your language.
Yeah. I'm like, finally somebody. And so I started, but my husband was the manager at our brokerage. I wasn't going anywhere. I just started following GoGo. And then she brought you on her Instagram stories one day, giving you a Rolex.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, and I was like, yeah, right there.
There it is.
And I was like, oh, and who's this? So I followed you too. And there you were, my people. But far away, right? And really like, I knew the business model was something I wanted to participate in, but like juggling my husband's career and mine and our relationships. I just couldn't make sense of it. And I was so far away up in the north. And then, you know, I had a slow season 2 years ago, and I was like, I got to do something different. I'm like, I'm going to try Amy's postcards. I'm just going to try and order Amy Gregory's postcards and see what happens. And here we are.
It's so wild.
My whole life changed. Yeah.
From the postcards.
From the postcards. Because I still worked at my brokerage, but then the postcards, buying your postcards and working at another brokerage was this like opportunity to test it out. Right?
Does this girl even know what she's talking about?
Well, like, and I hate to say that, but I mean,
but you date someone before you get married, and there's a reason.
And I was on a mission to find people I could learn from in the industry, being my age. Like, I mean, I started when I was 25, I'm 45.
Yeah.
I started 20 years ago. So, and my husband is also a 20-year veteran, and he's a manager. So, like, we have a lot of knowledge of real estate. We have a lot of knowledge of transactions, and then I have a lot of knowledge of marketing. So I was like, who can I learn from in the industry, and who's going to help me take my business to somewhere that I have a vision? And that just, you know, as soon as those postcards happened, and then I watched what was happening with it. So yes, my postcards were working, but what was really happening was I was now in this long-term committed relationship to your emails.
Email marketing.
That were serving me down the funnel of changing brokerages eventually. Like, I knew that, like, you know, we, like, the date was the postcard, but you were courting me, and it worked.
You know, I love a good dating analogy.
Yeah, I do.
This is because she's good at branding.
I'm like,
and like, so you can like, but that is the thing. And it's the same way I've built my transaction business though, as well. So do you know the story on the Rolex?
I do.
The story on the Rolex is, you know, that people like Gogo and Gogo was at EXP maybe a year longer than I was. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But she had gone over to EXP and told her sponsor, like, yeah, I'm going to bring over 100 agents. And they laughed at her. They were like, okay, you know, like, yeah no one's ever done that, right? And she was like, no, watch me. But Gogo was one of the only agents I saw kind of using social media similar to how I was. And this was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, wait a second. That plays so nice with social media. That allows me to scale in a way that doesn't feel like this big local team overhead, that just feels like I can respect that business. I just don't want it for me.
Yeah.
Like, at all. You know? I mean, it's like, I can respect that you like sushi. I don't want sushi. Like, I'm good. You know? And that's how I feel about the local team model. But so anyways, so I heard about the Rolex because her sponsor told her, well, if you bring 100 agents, I'll buy you a Rolex, because he thought that's never going to happen. Yeah. And then I found out about that, and I was like, oh, you 100% can bring 100 agents, and I will too, and I want the same Rolex deal. And so we were two of the first to bring 100 agents to EXP, which was like, I mean, and the stereotype is it's like we're these two ditzy blondes on Instagram, but you know otherwise.
I know otherwise. I'm going to bring 100 agents too. Okay. Just so you know. Just so you know.
This is also a funny thing. This is the first time we've met in real life. But don't you feel like that's so wild? Like that is the power of social media?
It's wild. I've thought about this a lot this week, because I'm going to meet Gogo today too. And I have thought about this a lot this week. The way that our world works, the way that we can interact this way, the way that you have such an influence on my business. We're connected weekly on our calls, right? At least once, sometimes twice a week. Yeah. And then there's like sometimes messages in between. So for you to be, so connected to my business in Atlantic Canada, and then I'm building out in Atlantic Canada, and I've got this group of realtors that have joined me. Like now I've got right into Ontario. I've got one American, but I'm building out this whole new region that Powerhouse didn't touch before. Yeah. And that's just like really cool to me.
Well, the math on it, like it's like this domino effect, right? This ripple effect that is like so crazy that I couldn't have predicted when I built Powerhouse. Like I think sometimes people, and you'll know this, I think sometimes people have the impression that everything is like mapped out in our business, and we're really just knowing what the next 2 or 3 steps are, and then the next 2 or 3, and then the next 2 or 3. But like if you said to me, Amy, what's happening in 3 years? I have no idea.
Because that doesn't make sense with the kind of business you have. Where the way that we leverage digital, we are responsive to digital. Instagram just could change tomorrow, and guess what's going to happen? The 3-year plan you had was a huge waste of time. Yeah. So yes, like there's like, we're on vision, we know where we're going, but at the same time, there has to be the ability to be agile. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of real estate businesses.
Oh, like this flexibility, because we're seeing this right now with all of this clear cooperation stuff. And I know you're not in the US, so it doesn't totally affect you, but it's like this, I feel like one of real estate agents' like fatal flaws is lack of flexibility or being able to pivot.
Yeah.
Like you're like, no, my pivots have always been my biggest wins.
And they have to be. I mean, so in my market in New Brunswick, right after I started your postcard strategy, which has a big coming soon component, that was working really well for me. And I think 2 months in, I was like, you know, this is like my jam. It's working out. This is great. One Friday night, we get an email from our board and it says no more coming soons. Done.
Yeah, and
right?
It feels like
and I watched everybody in our board fight for 6 months. And instead I was like, okay, well, if we don't have coming soons, what do we have? And I just re-strategized. Like that weekend, like I was like, I'm not going to take the energy that I have and take it and go battle the board and watch everybody vote. And like, I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm like, I just want to sell some more houses next week. So we're just going to pivot the strategy right now and let them fight if they want.
Well, 100%. Because I feel like so many agents sit more in that like victim, like, well, now I can't do my plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You're a mom too. You're like, I have no idea. I actually feel like that's one of the reasons moms make the best agents, because they are so good at the pivot and so good at being like, okay, well, I think business principles follow just good life principles. And it's the same thing with your kids. It's like once you have the 4-year-old version of them figured out, they turn into 5-year-olds, and now you have to figure that out. And I think that's the same is true inside your business.
100%. And your success is just going to be like literally tied to the size of problem you can solve, right?
Yeah.
So this week in my transaction business, we have a very busy week. I've got 6 deals firming up, but conditions are due. And what kind of week do you think that's going to be smooth and easy?
So great
like whatever.
To be on an airplane
do you know what I mean?
10 hours?
Yeah. You know, I mean, but so what do? You know that like some financing is not going to work out. So there's going to be a surprise on an inspection. Like, you know, that's going to happen because that happens often. 6 deals firming up in a week. That's one of my busiest ever. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm not freaking out about it. I'm not stressed about it. I know like we're going to be fine because we've learned how to solve all 6 of those problems at once. Yeah. Like we've learned that we're the kind of people that will find a solution, and that's that, you know?
This episode is sponsored by StanStore, the simplest way to turn your social media followers into clients. Want to build your database straight from Instagram without the tech headaches? I've got you. Click the link in the show notes to download my website template for realtors, designed to help you capture leads and grow your business with ease. Because your social media should be more than just likes. It should be your lead generating machine. Yeah, 100%. Well, and also too, I think sometimes too is agents have this idea that their job is like put together a perfect deal without any potholes along the way. And I always tell my clients, I said, listen, there's 100% going to be potholes along the way. My job is to let you know where they are, and we're going to try and avoid as many as possible. And sometimes we get all the way to the end and we've avoided all the potholes, and that is amazing.
Amazing.
And
rare.
And so rare.
And so rare. We're in the business of managing human emotion. I say it all the time to my folks that I work with, and I say it to my clients sometimes, like, look, you know, if I just acted like an open faucet with everything that I learned in the run of a day about maybe your deal or whatever, and I just like mirrored it to you in the way that I receive it, you would never buy a house. Like, my job is filtering, calming down, managing the other agent, giving them language to give their clients so that they can manage their clients.
Don't you find yourself managing the other agent and giving them like, so why don't you position it like this? Because sometimes I'm working with agents on the other side and I'm like, why did you make this 10 times worse than it needed to be? Like, the point of having an agent is so that like your buyer or seller isn't exposed to all of the back and forthing and all of like the quote unquote near death experiences that happen inside that back and forth. Because like, I'll take the cortisol hits. Yes. You be happy with your dream home.
I'll take the cortisol hits. Put that on a t-shirt. So there's that. And then there's the part where you have to direct them, but also make it look like it's their own idea. So they don't get their feelings hurt that you're telling them how to do the job, right? So, and you know, I'll tell you, like, years ago, I found myself, like, I was being the realtor police. Like, I was like, why didn't she do it this way? And like, da-da-da, because it could be better, whatever. Yeah. And so, you know, the part of being in the agent attraction business, honestly, has helped me chill out about like about other realtors sometimes. Because, you know, I try to reframe them like, now everybody's a client, let's be honest. Yeah. But like when I'm working through these deals, sometimes it's like, oh man, if that person says this way, they're going to have hurt feelings and they're going to have hurt feelings and they're going to have hurt feelings and everybody's going to lose.
Everyone loses. That is the thing too, is I think so many times when you're opposite an agent in a transaction, it's almost like this competition. Like you have some that come in like, oh, I'm going to one up you or get a better deal for my client. And I'm like, our goal is actually to create win-wins. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, you only get so many asks inside a transaction before the other side just is like done and it blows up the deal. Yeah. And sometimes clients listen to me and sometimes they don't.
And sometimes they don't.
Yeah. I had a client that like, I represented the listing side and like the buyer's financing was going to be 2 or 3 days late, which happens more than we would like. Yep. But it is a thing.
I would really like it to not happen, but man, it happens.
It happens, and sometimes it's out of your control. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And so, best case scenario typically is what?
We get an extension, and everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, you get the extension, and you close 2 or 3 days late, and it just is what it is.
It just is what it is.
And my seller was like, "Well, I want them to pay like the carrying costs for the 2 or 3 days," which I was like, "Okay, I understand on principle." Like why you want that, and if that's what you decide, then I have to be the messenger.
And don't you want to be like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
But also, we're at the end of the transaction. Everyone's tired. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But that's what they decided they wanted, and so I had to go and be the messenger on that. And they literally they canceled the deal and walked from it and got their earnest money back. Yeah,
and that's.
But I will. Okay, go.
No, you go. You go.
Well, I mean, we did go back to market and we got more for it.
Okay, well then you get to be a star.
Have a happy ending.
Yes.
But it is one of those deals where you're just like, literally, we've done the entire inspection. We are through appraisal. We're through everything. Yeah. And you're telling me what are the carrying costs for 3 days? Yeah. I mean, can't be more than $1,000.
I know. And like for me,
as a percentage of the transaction, you're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But you only have so many asks and then they're gone.
But it's such a like great reminder that people they only behave from emotion. They only make decisions from emotion, and it's their level of managing emotion and their level of reaction and the stories they're telling themselves that are actually coming to the table. Yeah. And it really has nothing to do with logic in the end.
No.
Never.
No.
Unless it's us.
That's totally true.
Unless it's us.
Yeah, right? Unless it's us. Yeah,
not me.
Totally. We're never emotional. Yeah. Actually, let's talk about that a little bit, because you do talk a lot on Instagram about being like, I think a lot of times when we see a lot of females in real estate that try and turn themselves into men. That sounded weird coming out, but whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Like this unemotional, very and I can appreciate that in our male counterparts.
Yeah.
I'm just way more emotional in a good way. I feel like I'm funny.
Yeah. Like you're a human. You're a real human. Do you know what's interesting though? I think I do have a minor brand problem in that like I can be very direct in a negotiation. Yeah. And I think that realtors who don't know that or haven't had that experience with me and just follow me online are like, oh, happy unicorn rainbow. Yeah. Like dancing lady. And then I'm like, yeah, but actually like, like, you know,
and this is the boundary.
Yeah, and they're like,
Wow.
whoa, what's happening? You know,
Yeah.
and so I have had to learn that is something that people aren't expecting from me, but that's my natural way of being, right? It's not me putting on like a front of like, how am I going to be taken seriously here? And that's very, very different. And I think that so many folks who come up in the specifically like in the traditional brokerage environment or in any environment where your mentors have been at it a long time, saying this as someone who's been at it a long time, you were just taught a different way. You were given scripts that were written in a different time. You have different like this is different, right? People in this day and age receive a volume of information at a pace that humans were just never designed to ever receive. And
a fire hose of information.
Fire
but
hose.
you have to remember that for our buyers and sellers too. They
100%.
are getting a fire hose of information. Yeah.
And then so much of that is a pitch, right? So much of that information isn't just data. It's actually someone trying to convince you to do something. And so what our brains are wired to do is actually filter out anything that could possibly look like an ad. They immediately are like, they're trying to sell me something. I'm not going to listen. So the best ads don't look like ads.
Yeah.
But we're not taught that in real estate school. No. Our scripts and our door knocking and all the things that good realtors do.
My business is built on referrals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I have a script for you, right? And nothing.
I don't even know the script. Could you tell them my business is built on referrals? And then they're supposed to say something else like,
like I'm saying like your manager handed you that binder.
Yeah.
I had a binder.
See, I did not.
I had a binder that had a section on how to tell your clients that open houses don't work.
Wow.
So that you wouldn't have to do open houses. Like that was my binder. It was a binder. But you know, that's just not like, as soon as someone said it enough times, it now is in the filter. So people like they see you comment. So folks they just don't respond to that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't even like, do you remember when you were so excited to download a PDF? I'll give you my email for a PDF. Like gladly. Ooh, I'm going to get a PDF resource until you ended up on 100 email lists with a bunch of PDFs you don't use, right? And listen, I still have PDFs in my business, but like I want a better freebie that people actually want.
Yeah.
Because the value of that freebie has gone down significantly over the last few years because now everybody, so it's just how consumers work. Yeah. And, you know, I like being in the business of understanding that, serving them. My marketing's of service, hopefully, and it's helpful. And Yeah.
Well, and it goes to like, well, then how do you sell more houses? How do you do more transactions? How do you work with more buyers and sellers and not have yourself positioned on a billboard or a shopping cart or like that was a thing. But you know what I mean? But it's like one of those things where it's like, and you said that, but the mailers work. So then like, why do the mailers work?
Well, I think the mailers work because they don't look like ads.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have these postcard mailers and you're listening to this podcast, just go buy them. Just go buy them and thank me later. Or
some of them are funny.
Or join Powerhouse and you can get a discount.
Yeah.
The postcards. Save 50
or you
bucks.
can learn everything from us.
Change brokerages and save 50 bucks. JK, it's a lot more expensive than that to change brokerages. They work because so I had somebody one day take a picture of all the real estate mailers that they had gotten. They were mad.
Yeah.
They were mad they got real estate mailers. So they took a picture of the kitchen table and it was like, you know, they just all looked like the 80s showed up or the 90s and just vomited in their mailbox. And there's just like one white card with a really nice little font and me pointing right at them. And I was like, okay, that looks pretty good.
Looks good.
Like if you're going to pick of these realtors, like you're going to pick me, right?
Yeah.
And it's clever and it's funny and, you know, but every time I send a mailer, am I getting 10 phone calls? Absolutely not.
No, and that's the other thing that I think people think is like the postcard strategy is a function of time. And what I actually think it demonstrates is, one, the branding on them is really crisp and clean. It feels a little bit more modern. It feels like, you know, it feels more like a Gap aesthetic,
you feel like
as opposed
person.
to you feel like a human being.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing it really demonstrates when you do it consistently is the people that are getting that are like, oh, this girl's running a business and she's legit and she has a system of doing things. Because that's the biggest rub about real estate agents. It's like, well, what am I even paying them to do?
100%. And I'll get a call, a year and a half later and they'll be like, oh, I get your postcards. Like, because people, the chances of someone getting that postcard in the mail that day and being ready to sell their house are so low.
It's basically zero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you do it anyways.
You do it anyways for a lot of reasons, right? You do it to serve the listing, really.
100%.
Like you do it to serve the listing. And then at the same time, you're getting, your name out in the neighborhood. And if you're as fortunate as I am to farm at a particular area a lot, then these people, I'm sure they don't read the postcard anymore because they've read it 100 times and there's Natalie again, she got another one, and they're rooting for me.
Did you? 100%. So my thing on the postcards is when I was like, oh, this is working, I got a text message from a girl in my neighborhood. She's like, oh my gosh, who's this cutie in my mailbox? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of agents would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Like they feel embarrassed by it. And I'm like, I don't know. Like my electrician does stuff. The pest control guys do stuff. Like everyone is running a business. Nordstrom sends me things, and I love when Nordstrom sends me things. I'm like, ooh, yay, what are we doing now, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one was my husband was coaching a T-ball team, and like the parents had to come pick up uniforms or something, and this little 7-year-old girl, she's like, oh, you're the lady in my mailbox. And I was like, yes.
Yep.
Which again, I think people would feel embarrassed by, but I was like, I'm going to tally that as a W. Because 100%. It's working.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I had a lady who was 85 years old call me up, and she was like, oh, I see what you do in our neighborhood.
And you're like, yeah.
We wouldn't talk to anybody else. I'm like, she knows everybody. She's the mayor of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Didn't know me.
Yeah.
Right? But she just like watched and
they're watching.
They see the consistency, right? So again, like another thing you said when I know we're just going to talk about postcards all day, but when you, it's not just postcards. It's a strategy.
Anything. It's like what?
It's a strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
And one of the recommendations you made that was really interesting is if you want to farm and take over a neighborhood, you get a listing somewhere else or you sell something somewhere else, you send your solds to the neighborhood you want to farm. Yeah. Even if the house you sold wasn't in that neighborhood. Yeah. And I was like, I actually haven't done that. But I thought that was so interesting because it's like anything. You don't go to the gym one time and then, get fit. Yeah. You don't get your following on Instagram by posting once.
One time.
Like same thing but people act like they send a mailer and it should turn into a deal tomorrow, and that's not the case. It's like what does that compound effect over time do when someone continuously sees you in their mailbox? They're just 100%. Like, this girl's relentless.
Yeah, which is what they want to hire. I love it. Natalie, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
This has been so fun. I will drop all of her contact information below. We'll drop the link to the postcards. I had no idea we were going to talk about postcards today, which is actually this is what Powerhouse is we get going on something and we like to turn an idea inside out, upside down, look at it from all angles and have different perspectives on it because that's how you iterate on an idea and get the idea better. And so Natalie is the queen of that. And I'll drop all her contact information below. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow her. She is a riot on Instagram. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to The Amy Gregory Show. If today's episode gave you that I needed this feeling, go ahead and hit subscribe so you never miss a pep talk when you need it most. And hey, if you're ready to scale your business without the burnout, I've got you. Head over to @AmyGregory on Instagram to connect, grab free resources, or join my community of powerhouse women who are redefining real estate success. Until next time, trust your gut, take up space, and remember, you're just one bold move away from your next breakthrough.